Hello gardening friends, it is one of the most exciting days of the year. It's the day I'm going to do my first winter sowed milk jugs. I have everything here that I'm going to need. Just a quick note before we get started. If this is your first time winter sowing or you're just getting started, I would really recommend that you do the process with the milk jugs, the process that is tried and true by thousands of people. A lot of times people come on Cheryl Mann's lists on Facebook and they say, hey, what if I do it this way? How about this? What about this? Well, innovations are great, but why don't you try it with the milk jugs first to make sure that it's gonna work for you. And then if you wanna try some other things later, that's on you. Try out the system the way it's been proven to work and you're gonna love it. So here I have scissors, which I use to cut open the jugs. I have a paint pen, paint Sharpie. You make sure you get an oil-based paint Sharpie because you don't want the writing to go off of your containers, because it's really frustrating because a lot of these things look the same, especially the brassicas. They're gonna all look the same until they harvest, really. Have a pencil, paper towels, water bottle, duct tape. I use the cheap duct tape because I think it conforms to the contours of the jug a lot better than the expensive stuff. And plus, it's not as expensive. I have a utility knife. Be careful with these. I'm a professional and I have the scars to prove it. There's a nice one right there. Seeds, I'm gonna be planting some kale seeds. Of course, the jugs. Potting soil. Today, I'm using this potting soil. Haven't tried this before, but it looks pretty good. It is OMRI listed. I'll put a card up here if you don't know what OMRI listing means. I already have some soil in my buckets that's pre-moistened. From that bag. I recommend pre-moistening the soil because if you put dry soil in a container and then dump water on it, it just runs around the edges and doesn't really, or it takes a long time for it to soak into the middle. If you're gonna put it in a tray or something, maybe that would be okay, but I prefer to get it pre-moistened to make sure that it's gonna be moist the whole way down. And I also have some of my biochar, which I made for my Terra Preta video, which is still in the works. But here is my biochar Terra Preta soil. Terra Preta, did I say? Terra Preta. Terra Preta. I'm actually gonna do a test on that. I'm gonna put a shovelful of Terra Preta in one of the jugs, and the other one I'm not going to put it in. We'll see what happens with that. That's another reason to mark on the container, because I can mark that right on the container so that I'll know. All right, so we take our container. I like to leave the hinge right here where the handle is because I think it gives it more strength to pick them up and move them around. First thing you can do is go ahead and use your Sharpie, and you can mark a line the whole way around if you want to. It's not really necessary because, I mean, duct tape gives you a lot of leeway as far as what you can get away with in having a crooked or straight line. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. This was the last one available, and I didn't find it on the shelf. I found it like down the road, just someone had picked it up and thrown it there. Maybe that's why it was the last one on the shelf, maybe it's from last year. So I like to start about here, which is probably about 3 or 4 inches up. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and mark that the whole way around. Just put something there to hold your marker straight, and then just go like this. And hopefully you end up about the same spot you started. All right, good time to go ahead and mark on what it's gonna be. It's gonna be kale. And I will put on here that it's going to be Terra Preta. gotta be careful you don't touch that for a little bit of time because it does take a bit of time to dry. Put the drainage holes in the bottom before I forget. So I use the knife and just give it like 4 holes there, and go ahead and do 1 up for emergency draining, which probably isn't necessary, but the water really can get out through those little slits, out and in, because I like to set these in a little 1-inch tray so that they can soak in the rainwater, and if you have to water them, if they get dried out, you can do that too. All right, so go ahead and get started here. And leave that little spot there for a hinge. It's a little bit more shallow than I normally like to do it. So first of all, put some Terra Preta in here. And then fill it up with your potty mix. So I'm going to mix that with the Terra Preta a little bit, and then fill it pretty much to the line with your potty mix. I like to tap this down pretty solidly, especially on the lower levels. I like it firm so that the seeds don't have a chance to get washed away. And here's where the pencil comes in. I like to make my holes for my seeds with a pencil. So I'm gonna go with 9 seeds in here, or 9 spots where I seed. Sometimes I'll put 2 seeds in just to make sure we get germination. These seeds are a little bit old. Usually the smaller the seed, the less deep you need to plant them. Right now we're gonna give it a good spray. You can do that before or after you firm the soil down over. I'll go ahead and firm it down. But you wanna get it sopping wet. I had the potting soil really well moistened before, so you make it nice and sopping wet on the top there. Now, if I get wet along the sides, I go ahead and use a paper towel to wipe the wet off, because we want our duct tape to stick. Okay, so we take our duct tape and we put it across our legs. Now we're gonna start here and take it around. And smooth the duct tape down. This drug is sort of unusual. It's got like a dip in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some duct tape over that just to make sure the air's not going through. Ta-da! Done. Right. Now just repeat that until you have all the jugs planted that you need to have planted. And I put those into a 1-inch tray. I'll show you what I have. It's a little 1-inch boot tray that I got at Target or Walmart or somewhere, and that's what I put my jugs in, and it makes it a lot easier to water them, and like I said, they can collect the rainwater and everything. Let's go look at some of my winter sowed things that are growing right now. Right, there's some tomatoes, some peppers, aren't they looking good? Some basil. There's a bunch more tomatoes over there. And some onions, which I've already planted a lot out of that onion container. I'll leave a link up here for my winter sowing playlist. All right, guys, get out there and get your jugs sowed. Wishing you a lot of success this gardening season.